Good morning, everyone. All right, for today's video, I would like to make pretty much, I would say it's sort of a response video to a lot of requests I received over the past few weeks or so. People are asking me what they should do to get started, on learning a language. How, just basically some advice, particularly those who are living in the U.S. Okay, those are the people I'm mainly getting my questions from. So in this video, I'm basically going to point out some things that people normally wouldn't see living here in the U.S. and that they should start paying attention to them closely, especially if they're getting into language learning. So, as you guys know, the U.S. Is probably the best place in terms of getting practice with multiple languages. Okay, it's probably one of the best places to do this because we have so many different ethnicities. I would say the U.S. and Canada. I can't speak on any other places because I've never been to maybe Germany or Australia. I've never been to those countries before, so I'm not sure how diverse they are. If you're from those countries, you may want to make a video response and just give us some more information about it. But I'm just going to talk mainly about Canada and the U.S. because I've been to, obviously, I'm American. I was born here, and I've been to Canada, I think 2 times, maybe twice. I think I've been to Canada twice. So, as you guys know, it's very diverse here. I mean, we have so many ethnicities, literally. If you're a polyglot, you're studying multiple languages, okay, you can literally get any language in, okay? It doesn't really matter if you're living in the boondocks, living in the country, or wherever, you can get the language in. So let's say you want to learn Russian, okay? Well, before we get into that, the first thing you really need to do, if you're living in the U.S., the first thing you really need to do is figure out what language you want to learn. Okay, that's the first step. Figure out what language you want to learn. Once you find that language, then we can go on to the next step, which is finding natives, finding places where you can practice the language. Now, if you have a computer, like you see, you're at home and you don't want to leave the house to find these natives at first, then you can get a lot of practice because there are so many different communities, forums, YouTube, just many different places online where you can find these natives. So let's say you chose Russian, okay? You can start with the computer, find some language communities, find some native speakers, then you know where you can practice the language. I should have said resources first. Figure out what resources you want to get. Once you get all your resources, then you can start the language. Then do a search on the language communities where you can find the native speakers or other language learners learning the Russian language. So once you get that going, then you're pretty much all set. Now, some people will say that they're not the type of person to really walk up to strangers or whatever. They're afraid. They don't see themselves doing that. So what I would suggest is maybe doing a text chat at first. I would say for at least 6 months. As long as you stick to your regimen for at least 6 months, you should start getting pretty comfortable. You still be limited, but you should start feeling somewhat comfortable with the language. Okay, striking up conversations and whatnot. You should be able to do that by 6 months. So I would do that through text chat. Then once you get to that point, you can go out and find the natives of Russian. Now, what you probably have to do is do a search in your city, do a search on the population, see how many Russians are actually in your city. Okay, if you have a high population of Russians in your city, then you're good to go. All you have to do is find an area where there's a high concentration of these Russians. Find out where they shop, find out where they eat at or whatever. They may have some restaurants or cafes. You may have to ask around, but if you have a high population of them in your city, then you definitely can get that practice in. So you can do that, and that's pretty much it. You have the computer, and then you have the people you want to practice with face to face. Now, I will make a plan. This is something that I do on my, you guys notice in my level up videos. I do it every week, every weekend. You don't necessarily have to do it every weekend. You can do it maybe twice a month, but you need to make a plan on when you're going to go out and get this practice, and then find the places where you're going to get this practice in, because it makes it easier. You know exactly where you're going. And now for me, sometimes it's random. Like, I don't even know exactly where I'm going. I'll just drive around and say, okay, I'm going to go here and go there. It's best to find a place first and then go there. That will save time. I normally spend an hour doing this, practicing the languages face to face with native speakers. So that's the whole, like, when it comes to practicing your languages, that's all you really need to do. And if you think about it, you will save money. Okay, you would save money if you do this, because think about, let's say Russian. You want to learn Russian, and you decide, okay, I'm going to go to the university and take Russian. Now, before I get into this, I'm not saying that you shouldn't go to the university. I'm not saying it's bad to go to the university to learn Russian or any other language. I'm just pointing out some things to show you, like, such as prices and like just expenses. If you go to a university and do Russian, it's going to take you at least 4 or 5 years. That's just how the curriculum is. I don't want to say that their teaching methodology is bad. It's just how their curriculum is set up. The way it's set up is it's set up in a way to have you come back, come back again, keep coming back taking classes, and you won't really get proficient in the language until after maybe 3 or 4 years. I'll say at least 4 or 5 years it's going to take you. Then on top of that, the money, the expenses. It's very expensive taking classes at the university. So you will be spending a lot of money. Now, not just on the tuition, but also on the resources. And every quarter or semester, you will be upgrading to a different book. So that's something else to consider. Now, if you do it by yourself, you won't even really spend that much money. I would say maybe a couple $100, because if you're like me, you won't be working through just one course. You'll have several resources you'll be working from. So I would say at least a couple $100 you want to be spending. Dictionary, a couple course books, maybe some software, phrase books, a couple $100. Compared to thousands of dollars, you will have saved a lot of money. So definitely take that in consideration. Okay. Now, about going overseas, I think it's a good idea to eventually take a trip overseas. It's always good to go to the homelands, but as other languages would, they will tell you, just like I'm telling you, you want to get to a good level before going over there. You want to get to at least an intermediate level. I mean, you can get to an even higher level, but at least an intermediate level before going over to the other country. I don't want to get into why you should get to an intermediate level in this video, but definitely intermediate level is something that you want to aim for if you're planning on going to the country. And like I said, you can go to a higher level, but intermediate is where you want to at least be at if you plan to go overseas. So it's good to eventually go over there, and if you just wait and just work hard in your own country, just go practice with the locals, then you will get to a good level. So by the time you go over to Russia, you will feel comfortable in the language. So that's really all there is to it. There's really no excuses when it comes to trying to practice languages. I know it's easier said than done. Not everyone can strike up a conversation with someone face to face, but I think it could be therapeutical for certain people. Even for myself, I made videos on this before. It's therapy. It could be therapy for people who are too introverted, who can't really speak, don't know how to speak to people. It could be therapy for people who are impatient. Okay. So this is why I don't want to tell people, hey, if you don't have the patience, you shouldn't even start, because I think language learning can be therapy for those people also. Now, you may have to find someone who can keep you going. You may have to work with them for a while until you feel comfortable. to continue your own. But if you stick with it, it can actually make you a patient person, language learning, because it takes a lot of patience and it takes time. So that's pretty much it. I'm trying to stay on topic here. I don't want to go off on, let me see, what else? Did I leave anything out? Anything out? That's pretty much it. That's the advice. So you need to choose a language you want to learn. Okay. Choose your language first. Next, resources, which you can find on the internet. Then find places where you can practice with. Find places where you can practice. Find places where you can find the natives to practice with. That's very, very important. If you don't have people to practice with, then it's going to become a problem in the future. You may lose motivation and you may not even continue. So that's it. That's my advice for those of you who are particularly living in the U.S. and are wanting to get into language learning. Now, as far as what you need to do, like as far as a regimen, what I would do, because I think I made a lot of videos on this, so I'll post some videos I made in the past to this video as a response, and you guys can check it out in terms of like what resources to work from and just certain techniques you can use for your study. So that's it. Like I said, if you're from Australia, from any other country I've never been to, and it's very diverse there. It's like the U.S. or Canada. Make a video response, share the information with us. It may be really, really helpful for those who are really who are starting to get into language learning. So that is it for this video. Thanks for viewing, and talk to you guys here shortly. Okay, guys, I'm back here. I realized I forgot to mention something about the like searching for the natives in your city. I forgot to mention, if you're in a city, let's say you want to learn Russian and you don't have any Russians there, like the population is low, you can't find the places where to practice with them at. What you can do is search other cities. You may have to drive or take a plane or whatever you have to do, a bus. But it's all about that will. Okay. It's all about that willpower. What will you do to, try to get your language level up? You have to, you have to take an extra step. So you may have to search other cities, find the Russians. And when you find a place where there's a high concentrated population of them, then you can plan, say, okay, I'm living in Ohio. Hey, I may have to go over to California. So you may plan a trip maybe twice a month, maybe once a month, book a hotel, go over there, spend the weekend, and just practice. Hey, if you have some friends, you may be able to stay with them and then, just go ahead and get the practice in. There are always ways to get this in. There aren't really any excuses. And if you think about it, it's cheaper, than actually flying over to the country if you do it this way. So that's something that I wanted to mention as well. If you have to travel, you got to do what you got to do. Like, you guys saw in my level up video, I drove 3 hours. I know 3 hours isn't really that long compared to going over to California, but I drove 3 hours just to go level up the Czech, because I still haven't found any native Czech speakers in Columbus. Otherwise, I will be getting Czech in every week. So I'm willing to take the extra step. Are you willing to take the extra step? So yeah, that's it for this video. That's all I wanted to bring up. So thanks for viewing, and I'll talk to you guys here shortly.